Monday on Daily Delivery. Michael Rand here, Patrick Reusse with me as usual. Patrick, plenty to get to. There's only one consistent current feel-good story, though, right? Everybody else is kind of took a little detour in the last few days, but the Vikings sure didn't. We'll get to Wild and Wolves in a bit, some other college playoff stuff, but man, 13-2, Patrick, including actually winning in Seattle.
Yeah, I think a couple of things. I think they're lucky Geno Smith was playing on one leg because he could have run out of the pocket a few times, but that's okay. That's the way it goes. And Sam Darnold's throw to Jefferson's one of the 5 best passes in the history of the franchise, of which I've seen them all. Well, I don't watch every game faithfully, but I've been around for the whole time.
Yes.
That, considering the pressure he was facing, I don't think Kirky would have made that throw. So
no.
That was a fantastic play. Nice play by Jefferson too, but he dropped it in his arms. It was a fantastic play. I thought he was great yesterday for
I thought he was
considering the amount of pressure that Darnold was getting, and pretty good defense, and they put up enough points to win, and they got a little help from the officials, as they usually do on the first drive when the guy throws one of the worst picks in the history of football, but I'd still be screaming at the officials about that one. He hated the pick play, but they get away with the pick play and kept going on that first drive. But it's and another thing about Darnold is compared to our guy Kirk, he scores touchdowns when he gets down there. He scores lots of touchdowns. So they're pretty good. They're they keep bringing these guys out to play defense that I've never heard of, and they make plays. It's incredible. All these linemen are, who the hell are these guys? And then now we got a safety who makes
Theo
a
Jackson,
play. Yeah, so I just hope they don't have any more interceptions, so I have to watch those jackass choreographies in the end zone. They can do them, that's fine, but let's not write about them. We don't have to write about them. We don't have to pander to them. But I guess we do. So anyway, modern, I was glad to see JJ get a 15-yard penalty for doing it. Did he? I didn't really watch it that closely. Did he add something to it that he hadn't in the past, or they just have a tight ass collection of referees?
They said he did it in the direction of a defensive player. Instead of just doing it, he was doing it at somebody.
He does it in the end zone, and there's probably a defensive player standing there feeling bad because he gave up a touchdown. Who was the ref? Was that Hockley?
No. I don't remember. I don't think it was Hockley.
These guys were crazy. They were crazy. They were inventing crap yesterday. I hate NFL officiating as an entity because, and I've said this 1,000 times, they should have the idea, I don't have to call it unless it's blatant, instead of, hey, just saw something there. I think the guy. Meanwhile, I'm watching the Philadelphia game. They let Washington, the right tackle, move 3 yards back into the backfield before the snap for the winning touchdown, and they don't call it. So I don't get it. Anyway.
No. But huge, obviously, to win that game because you're going, you're kind of ticking through the final drive, and, Darnold got hit on one play. The ball kind of floats a little bit, but it doesn't get picked. But, I mean, this is, they're still in it. They got a lot of, Green Bay and Detroit, probably 2 of the 6 best teams in the league. They got to beat 2 more great teams. But the Philadelphia game you mentioned, obviously, they lose to Washington in the last seconds. I mean, the thing there is right in front of them now. There's no tiebreakers to worry about anymore. You win these last 2, you are the number 1 seed. You get the bye. And the way they're playing right now, I don't think it's out of this. It's not out of the question. It's not likely, but it's not out of the question.
They're going to be, there's a lot of Green Bay bettors, so it'll probably be an even game. But I think Green Bay's a tougher game than the Lions right now. Maybe the Lions are getting a few defenders back, and then it won't be, but I don't know if they're getting guys back or not. But the Philadelphia's got to be in a panic because Hurts got hurt. Yeah, he's got the concussion. So that's quite a downgrade from Hurts to whoever the clown was playing.
Kenny Pickett. Yeah, Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett made one of the stupidest plays. I watched it for a minute, but he made some idiotic plays. So yeah, right now, I mean, 13-2. I mean, as I still have a hard time believing the official over and under on him was 6.5, but let's say it was 7.5. This is still maybe the most amazing season in franchise history for where they came from, what the expectation. Not maybe, it is. It is the most incredible season in franchise history because of what was expected and what is happening here. You know, even in 69 when they go to the first Super Bowl, blah, blah, blah. Well, they were coming off, you know, their first playoff season, and we could see the defense becoming a monster.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't think I don't think we've ever had anything to compare with this.
Well, I mean, think about the beginning of the season. I mean, the defense was largely unknown. You looked at it and you're like, okay, they added a lot of nice pieces. They could be a lot better. But the whole thing is that nobody believed, and for good reason, in Sam Darnold. Like, everybody looked at it and was like, yeah, this team could be okay, but man, look at the quarterback. But now look at how well he's played. Like, people are saying he's in the MVP conversation, and I don't think that's crazy. He's not going to win it. Like, Josh Allen is going to win it probably. But
I hope so.
He's going to get votes. He might be in the top 5 or 6. I don't know, top 10. He's going to get votes. Like, I don't think he should win or will win, but that's the type of season he's having relative to expectations, which was, I hope he can keep the seat warm long enough until J.J. McCarthy is healthy. You know, of course, McCarthy, you know, we knew at a certain point he was out for the year, but you know, that's the stunner of the year is just how well he's played and how much better he seems to keep getting from week to week.
What's it cost you if you franchise him? 40?
Yeah, I think, what is it, like the average of the top 10 or something like that? Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
I don't know. Yeah, it's become a conversation.
It's become a conversation
for sure. And if you franchise a guy, can you trade him?
Yes, yes, you can. So
okay. They might have to do that. Then there goes all their cap money, though. But
yeah,
you know, I don't know what they're going to do. But he's been fantastic. And here I brought this up to somebody else the other day because of Sam Darnold. And because of Baker Mayfield, are we now going to take a little longer look at these high talented draft choices before we wipe them off the map as not being players, and we give hundreds of millions of dollars to 36-year-olds like Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers? I'd rather give me one more year of these guys. You make up your mind. Why did Cleveland make up their mind that Mayfield couldn't play, and now they got a $250 million a year guy? You know, I mean, why did they make up their minds? You draft these guys, you do all this stuff, and 2 years that they're not great, they're gone. See you later. It's incredible.
Well, I think if anything, it's
Donald's only 27, right?
27. Yeah, he's 27. Yeah. I mean, I think the one thing maybe the one thing teams will start looking at is not just how a player played, but what their situation was, right? Like, because Mayfield had a good year in Cleveland. He had 1 or 2 good years in Cleveland, but then things kind of fell apart, but it wasn't all him. Darnold, the same thing. Like, he's with the Jets. Like, I thought it was funny, the broadcast on Sunday, you had obviously Darnold, but you also had Geno Smith, and then you had Mark Sanchez doing the color analysis on the game. Like, all 3 guys who had basically flunked out with the Jets. So it's like all these guys, like, you got to look at not just what they did, but who they were playing with, what their situation was. And I think that was the whole thing with Darnold. They were like, well, he's never been in a good situation before. He went from the Jets to Carolina, which was just in kind of no man's land. Gets a stabilizing year, but doesn't really play last year. So they kind of gave him a clean slate, said, look, you were the number 3 pick for a reason. So like, if these guys have the talent, and then you can put them in a better situation, there might be something to it.
Well, Mayfield was the number 1 pick.
Yes.
And you decide, okay, our problem here is we don't have a good enough quarterback. We're going to blow out the franchise. Jimmy Haslam must be a moron of the first magnitude. But, you make these guys high draft choices for a reason. Give them a shot, for goodness sakes. And then, anyway, it is funny that those two guys are 2 of the 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. So
it's amazing.
And they gave up on both of them. They were the first pick and the third pick.
Yes, in that 2018, right?
2018, yeah. So anyway, it's that's one of their best wins there because
yes, it was.
Seattle I think has got a pretty good pass rush and I'll tell you, Jefferson's hard to cover, man.
Oh man,
he is hard to cover, and they've made him a possession receiver now. I mean, he's getting all these first down catches, and I think they're using him in that role way more than they did previously. So
they run him out of the backfield sometimes on these interesting little kind of choice routes, but then still, game on the line, he breaks loose, catches the long one, and that's bad. I mean, he can just he can do it all, and that's the thing that
How many yards they rushed for yesterday? Like 50 or 60 or something? Much rushing, right?
65. Like Jones was going early, but they didn't do much. Do much after that.
Well, they didn't. That was the old Kevin O'Connell yesterday. We didn't spend much time worrying about the running game yesterday. And,
Sam threw it 35 times, and they rushed maybe 18 times. So that was more of the 2-for-1 offense that O'Connell. But it probably shows their growing confidence in Darnold too, right? Like the beginning of the year, they were basically a 50-50 split, and they were kind of trying to protect Darnold from having to throw too much because that was when he'd get in trouble in the past. But I think Andrew wrote about this today. Andrew Kramer, I think he's thrown 1 interception in his last 6 games, and that one was against the Bears, and that was basically like a 4th down. Hey, I'm just going to heave it up because I'm under duress. Like he's been pretty careful with the ball lately, probably earning the trust to throw it more than they have than they did at the start of the year for sure.
Is this 8 in a row or 9? 8 in a row.
8. It's 8 because
unbelievable.
They won 5 in a row, then lost 2, and now they've won 8. And I think this was their best win of the 8 because they hadn't played a lot of good teams.
They kind of played down to the other thing. But here's you brought it up too about the defenders. Okay. We bring in good players. Really? Yeah. Did any of us know that Grenard and Van Ginkel could play? No. None of us knew it. None of it. We can say we do it. There's probably some guys that, 3% of the Viking fandom might look at Pro Football Focus and find out who these guys are. There's nobody that knew that these two guys would be weekly playmakers for you. And, it's been fantastic. And then the rest of the guys on the defensive line are, who are these guys?
No names.
So, but there's really evidence here. If you get a pretty good player and you can put them in the right situation, that's a lot better than breaking the bank for Danielle Hunter, I'll tell you that. Because you're getting the same kind of production out of Van Ginkel for what, 1/3 of the money or so.
Yeah.
So
I think we knew Grenard was pretty good based on last year, but you're right. The rest of these guys, we had no real idea how good they could be. And Van Ginkel's got 10 sacks, 2 pick sixes this year. He had the 2 sacks yesterday. He just seems like he's a talented player who maybe just, is valued more here, and B, has thrived in this system. But it's wild to watch this unfold. And your guy Dallas Turner, how about him playing like a cornerback on that one, undercutting a route and getting an interception yesterday?
He's my guy for sure. That guy can run, man. For a lineman, he's going to be a superstar. And that's when I said, okay, these guys are pretty smart when they ended up getting him in the draft. They get the best defensive player in the draft with the 15th pick. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I remember
wasn't it 15 they got?
I think it was 15, somewhere in there. If it was in it was in the teens for sure. Maybe 15, 18, somewhere in there, but they had to trade back up to get him, and there was the classic the cameras were on O'Connell, and they showed they did the behind the scenes video, and they showed O'Connell's face when he was told they got back into the first round and they were trading for him. He just looked like, what? on! Like this big, smile comes across his face. So he knows how good he is.
It's funny though. I wrote that Saturday column, which was a bit over the top about everything that they've done since the end of last season was perfect because it gave me a chance to take some more shots at Kirky. But it is amazing how people still want to rip Kwesi. Because he had a bad draft. I mean, let's face it, the commenters at the Star Tribune are, we're not dealing with brain surgeons. But one guy wants O'Connell to become the general manager and then Flores to become the head coach. You think, okay, let's not have O'Connell dealing with the quarterbacks, whether it's Darnold or thing. By the way, why is there any discussion who the coach of the year is? It's him.
It's got to be. Well,
Campbell, I know you can make a thing for him. Did he win it last year? Campbell should have won it last year.
He must have. Unless Stefanski won it again last year for winning all those games with a bunch of bad quarterbacks.
God, that would have been stupid. Well, voting for coach of the year is subjective and stupid anyway, but O'Connell's had the greatest season of any coach in Viking history, now. So.
Well, and I don't know if it was ESPN or who it was, did like a anonymous polling of like 27 executives, and O'Connell was far and away the winner. That's not who's going to vote for it, but sounds like if the voting for the coach of the year goes along those lines, he will be the winner when it's up.
I don't know why he wouldn't. Plus, the refs love him too.
Somehow
people get really mad when
they do.
Saying the refs. What are we mad at? We should be happy that the refs like us. What the hell? Why are we mad?
What if they make it to the Super Bowl and they play the Chiefs? Who are the refs going to root for?
I don't know. I saw some Chief defender though come up with these response. They've had more fourth quarter penalties and blah blah blah, but they guided them. They guided them through that win on Saturday, wasn't it? Didn't they play
over Houston?
Saturday?
Houston.
There was some calls. That team is that's probably one of his most unimpressive teams, and they're 13-1.
Yes,
but they're good. They're very good defensively. They're Kansas City's. Kansas. When's the last time their defense was better than their offense?
Well, that's the thing.
A long time ago, yeah.
Mahomes' numbers this year are pretty average, but obviously he's...
Then again, he's working with receivers like, 82-year-old DeAndre Hopkins and a bunch of other guys that kept getting hurt, so...
Yep, and he's still Mahomes when you need him.
If you give him the ball with 4 minutes to go, you lose, so...
The game's over.
Yeah. Anyway.
Glad you brought up Kirky before we move on to Wild and Wolves. He must have been sitting there on the bench on Sunday like, man, I sure wish I could have played against these Giants. Why they have to let Penix play? Was it 34-7?
Yeah,
the Giants are terrible.
Penix didn't do much. They turned him over. They turned it over, two touchdowns.
He got picked one. Yeah, they would pick 2 pick sixes after Drew Lock.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The Giants are awful. But Kirk... They're going to let him go.
That's what it said. Yeah.
Before next year, they still got to pay him for next year. It still takes the cap hit, but if they don't cut him before next season,
before March,
then they owe him another $10 million for the following year, 2026.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So whatever it is, it's. What a disaster.
Well,
and the funny thing, when do we go back when he threw the 5 TVDs and 500 yards?
Right.
That was a month ago, right? 5 weeks ago, maybe?
Yeah, and then he had before he started this horrendous stretch, I went back, I wrote a post about it last week, he had 2 really good games. He threw 7 touchdowns and no interceptions and back-to-back wins against Tampa Bay and Dallas, and they were 6-3, and everyone was like, okay, this is working out pretty good. He had 17 touchdowns, 7 picks. He was basically having a regular Kirk Cousins season. Then the bottom just fell out of this thing, and next thing you know, he's benched. And, the point, too, is, right, like you said, they're probably going to have to cut him because he's got that full no-trade clause. He's not going to help them by letting them
Oh, God,
trade
no.
him somewhere.
He's been mad at him since the draft day when they drafted Penix, for God's sakes.
They're going to wind up paying $90 million for 14 games of Kirk Cousins.
Arthur Blank's got a lot of money, but this supposedly was Arthur's baby, though, too. I don't know. That's the rumors, that Arthur wanted to get the quarterback so he could go back to the Super Bowl. I got a frightening scenario for you, though. Darnold leaves. Daniel Jones leaves. Kirk's a $1 million guy. You can get him for $1 million.
Yep.
Kirk comes back as the mentor for J.J. McCarthy. I wouldn't trust him not to do it. I don't know how well they like him. I mean, they got rid of him. They should have loved him.
And I don't think this is the situation he wants. I think, situation in terms of like comfort level, this would be a place he would want to come to, I'm sure.
You know where he might be next year? The Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, that would make sense.
They're going to have to get rid of, they're going to have to, whatever they can do to get out from under some of Watson's money, they're going to have to do it. And I don't know if Stefanski's going to get fired or what's going to go on, but that could, there'll be a market for him because you only got to give him $1 million.
Right. He could wind up in Pittsburgh. He could wind up in, he wind up in a few different places that need a quarterback. The thing is, like, for $1 million, he'd be a perfectly fine quarterback. The issue with him, part of the issue with him has been, he doesn't rise to a certain level. Part of that's like, he's just always been like paid a half step to a step above what he produces. Like, if he's $1 million quarterback.
185 here in 6 years, so that was
pretty good run for him.
185, and
he's made a lot of money in his career, that's for sure.
I don't know. Anyway,
got another 90 from Atlanta. It's breaking the bank.
The thing about it is, though, this is I'm thinking about NFL. The one thing about the NFL is, remember the first great team in St. Louis that they had? They had 4 wins the year before, right?
Yeah.
And they were supposed to be nothing. They ended up, and did they win the Super Bowl the first time they went or not? I can't remember.
Yes. I think they won it the first time, then they lost the second time.
So it's to me, this is like almost this is almost our version of that, they were never, because he got hurt last year and missed half the season. It was hard to judge last season. And 2 years ago, they went 13-4. But how many players are left from that team that started? Defensively, not many.
Harrison Smith. It's a short list. Bynum maybe started that year, but it's not much. You're right. They've turned over quite a bit of the rest of that roster. It's amazing. It's an amazing year. And I think that win yesterday ranks up there with among their most impressive of the season. Yeah,
for the first time in weeks, I expected them to get, just because I kind of had the vibe that, I mean, 8-game winning streaks are very rare in the NFL these days. And if you're looking for a loss, this is the one. But then, and they had some flaws yesterday, but it's a great win. And I don't know, Green Bay comes in here.
Yeah.
If you don't let Green Bay run against you, you'll beat them, right? If you don't let them run against them, but there's one team you're not going to outcoach. Okay.
No, they got a good coach.
That guy's good.
It's a good team. Yeah. That's a good team. It's going to be could be a good division for quite some time with all those.
So if they beat you, there's no chance you play them again, is there, in the playoffs?
Not unless,
No, you both have to. Yeah, I keep forgetting that if you're a wild card, you got to be on the road, even if you get to play a bad team, right? So if it would be the Vikings as a wild card, if Detroit wins it, then they end up going to Tampa in all likelihood, right?
They would play either Tampa or Atlanta or Atlanta now, because that division now, both those teams are 8-7 after Tampa lost last night to the Cowboys. Those teams are both 8-7. But they would play
I didn't pay any attention to the Dallas game. I had no idea. Is Mike McCarthy and Zim saving their jobs with the 3-game winning streak?
I don't know. It was they did their best to blow it last night. They were up 26-17 with like 4 minutes left, and then they let Tampa just march down the field. Tampa kicks off. Dallas goes 3 and out, has to punt with like 2 minutes left, but then they force a fumble when it looks like Tampa Bay is going to march down for the winning field goal. So yeah, they would if they wound up as the 5th seed, they would play the worst division winner, which would probably be that one. Yeah, unless it was the West winner. But those teams are 9-6, I think, or 8-6.
So if they lose to the Packers and then still go and beat the Lions, are they division champs or not?
No, not unless Detroit loses next week to San Francisco. They can't. Okay. They can't tie the Lions and win the division because I think
isn't it time for San Francisco to tank because they're done right now?
You would think, yeah. I don't think San Francisco is going to give them much of a game next week. We'll see, but
yeah, they could.
They could. But yeah,
I mean, McCaffrey's done. He's not going to play, but I don't know. Anyway,
but long story short, if the Vikings wind up as the wild card, they wouldn't play anybody from the NFC North in the first round at least, but but they certainly could in the second round if they win that first round road game. So we'll see.
Probably what did I see? Is this the first? This is the latest any divisions had 3 teams with this good of records or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Some stat like that. I don't know. Pretty phenomenal though. The mighty NFC North.
Might have 3 of the 5 best teams in football. It's a tough.
And meanwhile, let's talk about disaster.
Oh, let's do it.
Let's go back to talk about disaster. I'm sure everybody else had this stat, but I only saw it on Jace Frederick's Twitter account.
Okay.
The fact that when Cat was here, Nas was being used twice as much in clutch time as he is with Randle.
Yeah, what are they doing?
I have no idea. This is, you watch it and you gotta think they're gonna try to trade him. And that's why they're playing it. That's why they're trying to trade him. They want
to play him to trade him.
But let's face it, the only way you're gonna trade him is to some club that is offloading somebody else and not trying to get good. You're not going to trade him to a contender. No contender is going to take him. I had somebody suggested me there's one guy they can trade him for where the salaries aren't that bad. D'Lo.
No, jeez, no.
They need a backup point guard.
No.
They need a backup guard.
No, thank you.
But there's what's going on. Cannot be Chris Finch saying this is our best chance to win. It's got to be. Yeah. There's got to be a strategy on the other end that either we got to try to make this work with him, or try to trade him. But there's something going on that we don't know as a public here. I don't think as reporters. There's something going on that they let him have the ball half the time. When he's on the court, it just makes no sense.
No, and it doesn't look good.
Here's their problem. I said this the other day. I said this last night on Twitter that Terry Kunze is my basketball expert, right? And a couple of years ago, Terry and I were talking about we really like Ant, except every time he takes a jump shot, we think he's going to miss.
Right.
And that's now the entire Timberwolves team.
They don't have shooters.
They don't have shooters.
They don't have shooters.
Why don't they let, I never thought I'd say this, but why don't they let, is old Joe Ingles injured or something?
No, I don't think so.
Why don't they let poor old Joe try to jack someone?
I don't know.
Because, he's got to be saying, how the hell did I end up here? He never gets off the pine here.
No.
And, they brought him in here. He brought him in here probably thinking he probably thought he was going to get to play 12 minutes.
All right. And then they made that 2-for-1 trade and all of a sudden he's out of the rotation.
And DiVincenzo is supposed to be the shooter, but
he's not shooting.
Here's my theory. You start Nas.
Yeah.
Then you let Randle and DiVincenzo will play together for 20 minutes and say, do whatever you want to do. You know, if you take your shots, go ahead, run, play the 2-man game. We don't care, but you got to do something to get the ball moving when the regulars are on the court. How about Ant? He's going to get fined again for going off on the officials.
Yeah, he's got to be just frustrated because he's talking about it like because there's no shooters, there's nowhere for him to go. Like,
yes, that's right.
He's shooting more threes because he's gotten better at them. He's more like he's like 42% on threes this year, which is pretty good. But he can't drive because they're collapsing. They're throwing everybody in the lane because nobody cares to guard McDaniels or Gobert, certainly on the perimeter, or Randle or Conley. Like none of those guys are making them pay for. They don't have any shooters. They're not nobody that makes you say don't let that guy go. Nobody says that. No, you got no feeling like that.
And Finch in the press, he's apparently was as testy as he's ever been in the press conference the other night
after the Warriors loss.
We couldn't put it in the basket. Well, they know there's a good reason for that. You don't have shooters.
You don't have guys that can do it. The spacing is bad. The shooting is not good. Other than that, as Mike Zimmer would say at halftime of a preseason game after he ripped the team, other than that, it's been great. They're not very good right now.
No,
they don't have their roster construction is not great. I don't think Finch has done a great job. They're not playing enough guys. Like, we don't even know who could give them a spark because they're not even trying anything. I don't know. It's a mess right now.
Yeah, it is. And I don't think it's. I had no idea how this guy played, Randle.
No, I didn't have enough of an idea.
I had no idea he'd be that terrible of a fit. But he's a terrible fit. He's a terrible fit. And the other trouble with him is he thinks he's a shooter and he's not.
Right.
So
every once in a while he'll catch fire just enough to convince himself that he should be shooting more of them, and that's probably the most dangerous kind of shooter because then it's a volume thing. And yet you're right. All the people that were saying he's a bad fit, and I'm like, no, look at his numbers. I'm like, no, he's a bad fit. He doesn't fit this. He doesn't fit what they like to do. Maybe there's another team where he fits a lot better. I saw De'Aaron Fox at Sacramento is looking to force his way out over there.
Fortunately, that would put you right back in the situation you were with Cat as far as second apron, right?
Right, I think so.
But I would take him. I love that guy. He's one of my favorite players, but what's happening? They're just not winning.
They're just not winning.
He wants to blame other people. So
I think he's not having this best year, and he's frustrated with kind of being stuck in the.
He did get 60 against us or something.
That's right. Yeah, he had a huge game against the Wolves. Was it last year, 2 years ago? I can't remember.
He's another Kentucky guy, right? Kentucky guy, right? Isn't he a Kentucky guy? I
think so. I can never remember. I don't pay enough attention to the college basketball these days. Maybe as a result of the local program not being the greatest.
That's an issue here. God love them. But, we finally, I think we have, speaking of Gopher basketball, I think we have one more game or two more games against these, teams.
The non-conferences.
The ones that the only person to schedule a worse home non-conference schedule than
Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson was Don
Plitzoway. Their schedule ain't great.
According to my guy Warren Nolan, who does this, we are now 342 in strength of schedule out of 362.
Ooh, yeah,
340. This guy keeps getting mad at. Why are you bringing this up? I said, because it's fun.
And it's true. It's also true.
She played nobody.
No.
And just the Prairie View, and we've now got ourselves in this situation where we have to cover that crap too. When they play Prairie View A&M, we should put 2 graphs in the paper.
Yes.
What goes on in college basketball for the major Power 5 conferences and the teams they play is a disgrace.
Yeah.
that they'd never play each other. And, it's a disgrace that they keep bringing these teams in. And, I don't know what we're going to do. Anyway.
No.
I gotta bring up a little small college football too.
Okay. I'm going to bring up the Wild in a minute.
State,
Yeah.
North Dakota State and South Dakota State. That was a hell of a game.
Mm-hmm.
Now that supposedly they're thinking about leaving the FCS.
Saw that.
Okay, look at the teams that have left the FCS. They end up playing in the John Deere Classic Bowl game in Quad Cities. Here you're playing a game that means something.
Yeah.
You know? But
I don't know
all these other schools have left the FCS, and I guess I don't know what they're going to do. But I watched quite a bit of that game.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I was more interested in that than the college football playoffs. I said this on Twitter too. Good. I hope we go to 16 teams next year, because then we can have 8 lousy first round games instead of only 4. Not one of them was a game. The closest was the Indiana one, but only because they got 2 consolation touchdowns after it was and after it was a blowout. They were all. I was surprised that Penn State blew out SMU that easy.
Yeah,
I haven't been that impressed with them, but now they get Boise State.
I know.
You know. Anyway, I think I haven't seen the ratings, but I got a hunch they aren't going to be very good. Don't you?
Yeah, I don't think people are. It's still NFL time too. People are still locked in on that. It's just. I think this is a good idea. I just think maybe this first year it's going to take a little while to grow. I still like it, but you're right. I wasn't as into it either.
They should get rid of these conference championship games that round and just,
I think so too.
But they've made these conferences ridiculous. I mean, there's no, who went to we have no idea if the 2 teams that went to the conference championship game are the 2 best teams, because you don't know who they're playing.
Right.
You can't have a balanced schedule with 18 teams in your conference. It's just ridiculous.
No, you can't.
And I mean, they brought it on themselves. Did you see the latest, by the way?
Mm-mm.
The kid, Jerry Kill's quarterback, got an injunction from the judge that his junior college years don't count.
Okay.
So we're going to have a whole college football, 27-year-olds are still going to be playing college football. You go to the JUCO, and then you still got 5 years.
Oh,
you can redshirt, and if you get injured, you got 6.
Unbelievable.
You're going to have, it's unbelievable, what's going on in college sports. It's easier to, and what I like though is I watch them and they're still running these ads about the academics.
Right.
Come to Penn State for the academics, They have nothing to do with each other. College
Not
football
anymore.
and your doctorate program and something. So.
Right.
Watch your dreams and savings grow with Royal Credit Union's 4.25% annual percentage yield 12-month certificate. Open now at any Royal office or online at rcu.org/certificate-saver. Early withdrawal penalties could reduce earnings and principal. APY accurate as of 2/1/25. Insured by NCUA.
Patrick, I think it's my fault. I declared, I think last week, that I need to start paying more attention to the Wild. They've just been kind of like flying under my radar. I'm like, okay, fine, maybe they are actually good. And ever since then, they've been bad. And they play tonight. They play Chicago tonight, so maybe they can win tonight.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, I think they're home tonight too, right? Chicago?
I think so.
Is that home? But they're still they got the 3rd best record in the West or something like that. I looked at it, so they were. Yeah. I think they lost 3 in a row, but they're still 20-10, and then they got those stupid the 1-point losses. So. Yeah, they had a little dive, that's for sure. Now, I don't want to make the comparison to Yo's first year, whatever year that was.
Right.
The team that had the best record in the NHL after 30 games and won 7 of its last 52 in regulation. So, my favorite stat ever.
Yes.
But I don't, the goalies, Gustavsson's been hurt, and
they need him to be healthy.
And Fleury's all of a sudden he's looking 40 again. So
and Wallstead
is not ready to play.
Not ready, which is that's a little troubling. Feels like he should be he should be ready pretty soon, if he's going to be ready. But yeah, Gustavsson's the key to this whole thing. I did something last week on just how good he's been and how much the goaltending more than anything has been driving the success this season. I mean, yeah, Kaprizov's been terrific, but goaltending has been the thing that's been different from last year.
I can't analyze it, but they're giving up a lot of power play goals. I know that their penalty killing is a little
third worst in the league this last time I checked. So that's a problem. So I don't know. I don't know if this is the start of a slide or just a bad stretch, but
I was the other day I happened to turn on a game from Canada. Okay. And it wasn't our game. It was somebody else's game. Toronto was playing.
Okay.
And they had 4 guys analyzing it between periods.
Oh, geez.
And they'd given up 2 goals. And these guys were breaking it down and dealing with it. I said, it's like when the Nazis came through the Maginot Line in France. It was like, oh, man, they got to do this and they got to do this. I like the NHL better back in the Gretzky days and the early days when the object was to score goals instead of prevent them, when they tried to, when everybody was much more offensively oriented than they are now. Now, one reason is you got 32 teams and you had 21 then and you don't have as many quality offensive players, but it is such a defensive game, though. They've tried to do things to loosen it up, but I don't know. Goals are just impossible to score. So
they're hard to come by.
They'll be fine, though. I think
I'm worried about them.
Well, yeah, they're going to be in the playoffs, which is after that it becomes a crapshoot. So
yeah. As long as Gus is healthy, they'll be good enough. But I don't know if they're close to as good as they were at the start of the year. We'll see.
Well, that's okay because we're going to have a Super Bowl parade.
It'll take care of everything.
But we might not. I thought it was going to be a doubleheader, Super Bowl and Stanley Cup parade.
Yeah,
but I'm a little shaky on the Stanley Cup parade right now.
We're more sure about the Super Bowl, even though we're not sure about that. That's a better likelihood at this point. I would certainly say.
I'm working on a column for Christmas Day on the Mud Bowl, 1977, the famous game against the Rams. But I was we played it on, Christmas was on a Sunday that year. So they played it on the 26th on a Monday and then the 24th. So I was just, before I talked to you this morning, I was trying to figure out when we became godless and started playing on Christmas Day because we now have a Netflix doubleheader. The earliest I can find, I looked up when Christmas was on Sunday. So when Christmas fell on Sunday, now maybe they did it before that, but it was 2005 before we became completely godless and didn't give a dang about Christmas anymore. Now there might have been maybe a game where they played a Monday night game on Christmas or something. I don't know, but anyway, we were still, at the end of the last century, we were still avoiding Christmas Day games, but we did now we're celebrating. Remember, you were old enough to remember where the only game on Christmas was the Hula Bowl.
Yes,
not the Hula Bowl, the whatever the game in Hawaii, the other game,
Aloha Bowl.
The Aloha Bowl was the only game on Christmas.
Yes.
Now we got 5 NBA games. And, next year, by the way, things don't shape up. Our boys won't be playing on Christmas next year.
No.
We're gonna be back to these guys think they don't get to play on Christmas.
Nope. Anytime they try to put them on prime time, it doesn't work out. It's like the year you think they're going to be good, they're not good. The year that they they only good when they surprise you.
I wrote a column saying at least we know that after they made the finals and the Western Conference Finals in 2004 was next year was the disaster. Flip got fired and everything, and I said there's no way it could be that bad. I might have been wrong. Because that team actually won 44,
I think.
A winning
44.
record. Yeah, they didn't make the playoffs, but they had a winning record.
Yeah. Well, This team technically has a winning record still at 14-13. It just doesn't feel that way
right now out of these guys. Right? I'd take 44. Would you take 44?
Pending the resolution of whatever happens to Julius Randle. We'll see. I think if they want anything to do this season, they got to figure out something before the trade deadline, because this combination, this ain't it. I thought
everybody ripping Julius, all the fans, they all hate Julius.
Yeah.
It's not his fault he's here. It's not his fault.
No.
He didn't say trade me to Minnesota.
That was not his idea.
That was
definitely not his idea.
No.
Oh man. All right. Well.
All right. Merry Christmas to the Ramballs.
Yes, you too, Patrick. You too, to the Reusses and everybody. I hope you have some fun stuff planned. Some good.
I got a 3-year-old little gal next to me, Olivia.
Yeah.
She should be what you want in a young kid, but she thinks Santa's a bunch of BS and she doesn't care about. She doesn't care about him at all.
She's like, nope. She's got it all figured out already.
Her parents are extremely upset because she isn't into Santa.
That's hilarious.
Meanwhile, my grandkids were 13 and they were, they're still a Santa. They were still running the scam.
They want to believe. They
didn't want to believe. They wanted the present.
They want the present, right? Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Our kids too. All right.
All righty.
Thanks, Patrick. All right, we'll see you.
Bye-bye.